Okay, well, everything's set up. Let's get started. Welcome to Raising Happy Kids Zoom show. Today, I was looking, last night I was looking through some of the older shows. As you can see, they have homeschooling today because it was when students were staying home. And so we're going to start with this one, being a positive influence on kids. Welcome to Karen Ryce's Family Zoom Station. That's how we started. Episode 10, Homeschooling Today, being a positive influence on kids. During the first part of this 1-hour show, I share tips and strategies that create harmony with kids. Then we open things up for Q&A and discussion. That's when we have guests. Last week's Zoom show ended with sharing the desire that kids be positively influenced. Kids who are positively influenced demonstrate the following positive results and more. I'm not saying that they're perfect or that kids demonstrate these qualities 100% of the time, but these are qualities and abilities that I have witnessed. They are considerate, they are competent, they know what's good for them and tend to avoid what is not. They know their strengths and weaknesses and how to make the best of them all. They know how to get what they need, but not at the expense of others. They are unafraid to be honest, willing to take chances. They feel good about themselves. They are strong, healthy, wholesome. They have strong, positive beliefs in their self-worth. They make wise decisions. They cooperate. They actively respect the needs of others, but not at the expense of themselves. These are some of the reasons to make sure that kids are treated harmoniously. A good starting point for positively affecting kids is being able to get yourself into a positive frame of mind. It's hard to be positive with kids when you're not feeling positive. So the first things I'm going to cover today are ways to get yourself into a positive frame of mind. I've found it very helpful and very effective to start my day with practices that get me into that frame of mind. It's worth it to get up early enough to be able to do this. It helps the whole day go more smoothly. When I was raising children, I would wake up at 3 a.m., meditate for an hour, go back to sleep, and then get up at 6 a.m. to do my part in getting the family ready to go out the door, to work, to school. So if you want to, you can have a meditation plan. I've learned since those days that even 15 minutes of quieting my mind is more consistently effective than my 1 hour of meditation. These days, I'm finding that focusing my mind on the positive practices I've adopted is even more effective than quieting my mind for 15 minutes, though my practice usually takes about 30 minutes. One powerful positive practice is to think of what I'm glad about in my life, or what I appreciate, or what I'm thankful for. In my mind, I say what I'm glad about, and I often picture it. Those are my children. The goal of all of these practices is getting into alignment with my inner being, soul, spirit, whatever term you use and prefer. Living my life feeling that connection and receiving guidance from there is such a satisfying way to live. Create a plan for calm. Having a plan that helps you calm down when you're bothered by something and that helps you stay calm can also help you maintain a positive frame of mind. Discover what helps you keep calm, then do those things. When you want to calm down, take some slow, deep breaths. That's how we breathe when we're calm. So breathing that way can help us calm down. Ground yourself, center yourself. Do something that satisfies you. Read for a while, listen to music, take a shower, meditate, work out, go work in your shop. Do something that makes you feel better. Remember that stressing about things is not going to improve them. When you are not calm, if possible, do not be around and I call it my pattern interrupt, because in neuro-linguistic programming, a pattern interrupt is something you say to interrupt someone else's pattern. You might ask them a question that is totally off the subject they are on. My pattern interrupt does that for me, and it could do that for you. First, choose a positive phrase, word, sentence, mantra. Remember to choose something you like and or believe in. Then keep your mind focused on that by repeating it silently in your mind, though you could say it out aloud if you prefer. Then, for me, it vanishes when I'm feeling good again. Although the above strategies are effective at reducing stress and overwhelm, the following strategy can prevent much of your stress and overwhelm from being created, especially when it comes to your kids. The one rule. Once you are convinced that the one rule is as strong as I know it to be, then you know that you can rely on it to get you back into harmony with the kids in your life. The one rule is so powerful, just using it can help you get into harmony. Of course, you have to use it. You can't just know about it and not use it. However, I just thought that knowing about it is like planting a seed. Just knowing about it is the seed that changes how things were. You now know that something exists that might help you create harmony with or between your kids if it's used. Most likely, eventually, you'll use it. Someday, you'll have to give it a try. If you take it as far as telling your kids about it, they are very likely to use it. At least that has been my experience with kids. In fact, that might be a good strategy, telling your kids about the one rule and how it works, and telling them you want to use it but might forget or not be able to. So you hope they'll help you out with this, remembering and actually putting it to use. Homeschooling was going to be a primary topic today, but in order to be able to positively influence your kids educationally, it is good for you to be in a positive frame of mind. So sharing suggestions to help you that way came first. Even though school may be finished for the school year, well, I guess that's when this was written, there's no reason for education to end, ever. Isn't becoming a lifelong learner one of the stated goals of education? That's what I learned as a teacher in the public school system. The most wholesome education is based on interest. So as your kid's educational helper, I just created that term instead of teacher. I think it's more accurate for what I believe education to be. Knowing what they're interested in is an excellent place to start. So even though we won't go deeply into this during today's slideshow, to me, the most excellent education puts the student at the center of their education. The teacher or educational helper helps them follow their interests when they want help. Does the parent make suggestions and share new experiences? I'd say certainly if they're inspired to, but even so, I'd also say let it be up to the kids what they decide to explore and experience. Oh, just follow the one rule. Let that be your guide in areas where the harmonious path is not clear. Thanks for being here. Okay. Let's see what the next one is. Oh dear. There. Okay. We're going to go to another. This is about helping kids follow their interests. Help kids follow their interests. Okay, we know about that. When I talk about harmony with kids, I often bring up the one rule. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, you use the one rule. You find agreement, that's the rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. You do not move forward until there's agreement. This is the rule. When you follow it, you find harmony. You discover what needs to shift so that everyone involved feels good about the situation. It has never failed me when I have used it. Even though I had not isolated it and named it, it was very much a part of raising my children and working with students as a Montessori teacher in our Montessori school, as well as students in public schools. Last week, I spoke about kids following their interests. I asked you to think about doing something that interests you. When we are interested, we are engaged and focused. We tend to do our best. When we are engaged and focused, our whole being is involved in what interests us. We are experiencing harmony. That is a good reason for our kids to do what they are interested in doing. When kids do what really interests them, they become peaceful, harmonious people, even if they were not before. I have witnessed this. Today, I intend to share some of the ways the One Rule can help you and your kids follow their interests. We'll start with 2-year-olds. They are very active and passionately want to do what interests them. One important thing to keep in mind about 2-year-olds is that they are developing their willpower. 1, the power to want. 2, the power to be determined. 3, the power to persevere. With 2-year-olds, your role in using the One Rule is primarily to be a harmonious example to them. For example, let's say they have chosen to do something that you do not want them to do. This could be a conflict in the making, especially with a 2-year-old. To use the One Rule and keep harmony, help them want something you agree with before they become determined. Once they have become determined and are practicing being determined, exercising and developing that aspect of their willpower. If you want harmony and they have become determined, demonstrate harmony by figuring out how you can agree with what they want. Trust that they are in a point of harmony and figure out how you can adjust yourself to be harmonious with the direction they are going. Maybe you think, this is proof that I need to pay better attention to what's going on. I could have changed their focus if I'd been paying attention. Or maybe you can still change their focus. Just remember that agreement is harmony. Maybe you can whisk them up and quickly engage them in something else, something you like and they like. Just remember that agreement, harmony is the goal. So whatever you decide to do, make sure they agree. Keep the harmony. It's so much better for everyone. It feels better. It takes less time. Think how much time and energy it takes to force them to do what you want. Agree, and none of that trauma and trouble happens. You know your 2-year-old has been watching other family members doing various activities. Now they want to do one of those activities too. You can let them figure it out on their own, or if you prefer, you can show them a way to do it that you like, that you agree with. Here's a way for them to get a drink of water. Let's say they want to be able to get their own drink of water. You want to get your own water to drink? Here is your cup. Put their cup somewhere so they can reach it by themselves. If they need to carry it in a particular way, show them. Show them how to get the water into the cup, how to stop before the water fills the cup too full. Show them what to do with the cup and any extra water after they have finished drinking. One important thing to understand about a 2-year-old and their desire to do these familiar activities is that they use these activities to develop and coordinate aspects of themselves, like their intelligence, their will, and their physical actions. They get to use their intelligence because these activities make sense to them. They understand most of what is involved. How you can help? Show them the various steps involved in doing the activity, including how to complete the activity. They get to use their willpower to want to do it, to be determined to do it, and to persevere in their efforts, hopefully until success. Remember, if you do not want them to do this activity, be sure to help them choose another activity to use to coordinate these aspects of their personality before they are determined to do that activity. This cannot be stressed enough. It is critical in creating and maintaining harmony with a 2-year-old. They obviously get to practice the movements that are involved in doing that activity. When you show them how to do it, be sure to pause briefly between every 1 or 2 movements. That way, they can clearly see what actions are used and exactly how to perform them. Encourage your older kids to be self-determined, to choose what they want to do like they did when they were 2 years old. Use the 1 rule in your interactions with them and encourage them to use the 1 rule when interacting with each other. Establishing the use of the 1 rule with your kids and between your kids can help ease your mind as you're helping your kids follow their own interests. With your older kids, at least 3 years old, it is easier to use the 1 rule in your interactions with them and to encourage them to use the 1 rule when interacting with each other. With the 2-year-old, you had to do all of the work. With older kids, everyone involved helps it happen. When the 1 rule agreement is a common way of interacting, it's easier to trust their choices. You also know that if you have a problem with one of their choices, you can come to agreement. They know this too. It eases everyone's mind. Here is something you can do with any child who is past the 2-year-old stage to teach them the 1 rule. You can present it as a way to solve problems, or even as a game, or as a skit that you perform for the other family members. The first time you might say, "Let's play a game," or "Let's do a skit for the family," or "Let's choose something in our family that we don't like and make it into something that we do like." Have a family issue in mind that your child is familiar with, like putting toys away. But if your child comes up with an idea, go with that if possible. "I don't like milk." Okay, let's find something you and I can agree on about that. "I don't drink milk." I agree with that. "I've always thought that milk is important for growing children, but I don't like milk." Okay, we're looking for a way to agree on this, and for you to agree, you do not drink milk. "Yes, I do not drink milk." Okay, you do not drink milk. I will find out what is good for you instead of milk. I will tell you what I find out, and we can find what we do agree to. We can do this with anything we are not agreeing with now and change it to something we do agree with. One way to help them follow their interests is to help them be independent thinkers. When they come to you asking for help, encourage them to solve their problems, to figure out their solutions. "I wonder what you can do about that." That's something you might say. "That's an interesting situation. I wonder how you might solve that." Remember, you are not always with them and able to use time and energy to provide a solution for them. The more they can solve their own problems, the more inner strength they develop, the more confidence. When they really want your help, of course, give it. If they ask for your opinion, you can give that also. If you think there are things they should know and understand, be sure to tell them. If you think they like certain experiences, be sure to offer those possibilities to them. It could make all the difference. When they need even more help, like knowing how to make some pants or use oil paints or put on a play, if you have those skills, teach them. If not, encourage them to research, to find resources to help them. That might be something you do together. You might also find someone who does have those skills, who can teach them what to do. All the tips for helping your older kids follow their interests can apply to your teens too. However, teens are a special case. They are really beginning adulthood. Soon, they might be off in the world, maybe going to college, maybe working and getting another place to live, maybe traveling. In any case, they are preparing to enter the world as adults. Here are a few things to keep in mind that could be helpful for them. The following is on the Happy Kids member site and could be helpful to any of your older kids. Overlooked fact number 3. We as adults may consider teens as children, but they are not. They are young adults. They need the opportunity to learn and develop the skills and abilities they will need as independent adults. Attitude. You realize and accept that it is important for your teenager to practice making their own decisions while they're still at home, while they still have your help to back them up when they make the inevitable mistakes. I know this may sound scary, but the one rule takes most of the scary out of this. Skill, learn, and practice the one rule with your teen. Overlooked fact number 4. Everyone makes mistakes. Attitude. Learn to think of mistakes as challenges or learning opportunities. Skill. When you or your teen makes a mistake, ask, what lesson or lessons do we need to learn so we don't have to go through this again? Overlooked fact number 5. You must show respect first. I know that this seems backwards, to give respect to your teen when they are not giving respect to you, but it is not. It is easiest and most powerful to do this through using the one rule. Parents serve as models of appropriate behavior for their kids. Remember, we are always examples to the children around us, and at some point, they may try out our behavior. Realize that children observe such behavior at close range. Whatever rights and privileges adults take, children naturally feel entitled to take also, from a very young age. We are their model of appropriate human behavior, and in their minds, they're definitely human, and thus deserve, expect, and require all human rights. This is from Parenting for the New Millennium, Creating Friendly Families Through the Power of Respect by Ryce. This is my third version of my first book. Attitude. You are willing to be a model of respectful behavior toward your teenager by using the one rule. Skill. You use the one rule with your teen and you tell them that you are going to do this. Thanks for being here. Okay. Now, this has made me think of a story. Let's see if we can find it. I'm going to see if we can go a little faster. I should make a table of contents for this. This was one story I thought of reading earlier, but let's see. Curfew. Okay. This is going to be, okay, here we go. This is the newest book. I have it set up so I can read it here, but it's not complete yet. So, but a lot of the stories, most of the stories are gathered. Any new ones will be written. And someone across the street is doing yard work. So that's what that other sound is. Okay. So here's an example of a parent and their teen and being respectful to them in spite of and the difference that it makes. Starting with an attitude. Jeremy, I need to talk with you. What did I do wrong this time? You didn't do anything wrong. Did I say you did something wrong? I thought that was the only time you wanted to talk with me. Cynthia is starting to get upset with her son. She hates it when he talks to her this way, but she doesn't want to start this new approach off on the wrong foot. She doesn't think it would be very respectful to tell him to keep his attitude to himself, so she controls her first impulse. Jeremy, I just want to tell you about a class I'm taking. I think you'll be interested. A class? I thought you had all the answers, Mom. You're the authority. What do you need a class for? Jeremy, please don't. I'm tired of fighting with you all the time. That's what I need a class for. I want us to get along. It's kind of late for that, don't you think? I know what you mean, Jeremy, but I hope not. I hope not. I don't have much faith in this class of yours, Mom. I can't imagine that a class is going to change our great relationship. I just want to tell you that I don't want to fight with you anymore. I'm sick of it. Yeah, well, I've been sick of it for a long time. Mom, I'm out of here. For several weeks, Cynthia doesn't mention her class. She also doesn't fight with Jeremy, at least not much. When she finds herself fighting, she leaves the room. One day, as she's leaving the room to keep from fighting with him, Jeremy says, "Hey, Mom, you were right about your class. You really have stopped fighting with me. I didn't believe you would really do it. What is this class anyway?" Through her patience and persistence, Cynthia earned the beginning of Jeremy's trust and respect. By improving one aspect of their relationship, she has laid the cornerstone for a more satisfying relationship with her son. She laid it true and strong. Now they can work together to build the rest. A lot of these stories were written when the power of respect was what my focus was. I didn't know about the one rule, even though a lot of my interactions were based on that. But now knowing about the one rule, we can make this class she's taking into a class on the one rule. So let's go back to let's see what this one is. Oh, okay. I started kind of late in this slideshow. We're gonna do another. This is from Happy Kids Zoom show number 1. Today I want to share an example of the one rule in action. Oh, good, I can get rid of this. It happened soon after the one rule was created, actually appeared in my mind. My youngest daughter and her 6-year-old son were visiting. I told them both about the one rule. My daughter actually came up with the term agreement. I liked it and it stuck. One word for the one rule. My grandson loved the screen time he got here, but my daughter did not love his screen time. We also did other things like go to the park, lots of running, swinging, climbing, and playing. One day I was in the living room when he asked me to put on a video. I decided to try out the one rule. I told him that it was okay with me if he watched a video, but that it was not fine with his mother. I told him that because of that, it made me feel uncomfortable. I said that maybe we could use the one rule and find something that he liked and that his mother liked and that I liked, something we could all agree to. He thought for a moment, then he suggested that he and I play cards. Agreement. We had great fun playing cards. He and I agreed that we could choose what games we played and make the rules, changing them any moment he wanted to change them. This story is what came to mind when I thought of what I might like to cover during today's show. I know this topic is a matter of concern for many parents these days. What happened with my grandson and I is just one solution that he came up with and that worked for me and my daughter. That is one thing about the one rule. It is as flexible as the people involved want it to be. Most rules are constricting. Of course, this rule is constricting too. However, it only permits what is best for all involved. It does not constrict in a harmful way. It is like a guardrail that prevents people from falling off a cliff. We are glad that it is there. The one rule does the difficult work for all the people who use it. The difficult work of making sure that all the decisions work for all the people involved. Not just for my grandson, not just for my daughter, not just for me, but for all of us. We all get to feel good. My grandson gave up some of his desired screen time, but got to play cards in a way that really pleased him. He also got to decide what to do instead of screen time. My daughter got to feel peaceful inside because her wishes were honored by her son and by her mom. I got to enjoy the time with my grandson and try out the one rule. Did my grandson have to give up screen time? Not necessarily. Using the one rule could have resulted in his mother finding harmony with his screen time. It is completely flexible, except when it comes to finding agreement that feels good to all involved. It is my belief that harmony exists in each moment. If we are not experiencing it, we just have to find it. The one rule to raising happy kids is one way to do this. Wow, thanks for being here. Cool. This is pretty cool. Let's see what the next one is. I'm really enjoying these old shows. Okay, let's see what this was. I didn't look through these. I just gathered them. I kind of glanced at the script for them, but if it seemed basically like what I wanted to, so I don't know what's in here. We shall see. Welcome to, whoops, all right. Earlier this week, I was watching an online lesson. The instructor used the term magic wand, referring to what was being taught. I thought, that's what the one rule is. It's a magic wand for those who use it. It eliminates wondering how to solve problems with kids. Now you know how. You just have to do it. Have you ever heard that two heads are better than one? With the one rule, all the heads of the people involved are part of coming up with a solution. Since all the people involved want a good outcome for themselves, and they know it has to be a solution that everyone else likes too, that is the rule. That wasn't read right. Anyway, my experience has been that a mutually satisfying solution is going to be thought of. For many, many years, I have wanted to eliminate punishment as a way adults attempt to control kids. I realized that this would not happen as long as adults are concerned about kids behaving badly. Many years ago, I came up with the concept of respect as the foundation of parenting. I called it the power of respect. I lived it. Anyone who knew me then could tell you that in terms of being respectful to kids, I walked my talk. I knew that most people had a sense of what it meant to be respectful, though many adults were not used to being respectful to kids. However, when I was asked to define what I meant by respect, I found that difficult. I finally came up with treating someone the way that other person wants to be treated. I think that works. But with the one rule, everything is so much clearer. No complicated definitions, simple, straightforward. You may not know what the other person wants, but you know whether a solution feels good to you. You are responsible for agreeing to what feels good to you. They are responsible for agreeing to what feels good to them. And together, everyone involved is responsible for finding a solution that everyone agrees to. One of the biggest objections to using the one rule is that it's not going to work. People are not going to find agreement. I understand why you might think that. It is normal for people not to get along, to disagree, to get into conflicts or even fights. However, that has not been my experience. Sure, I'd not thought of the one rule until a year or so ago, but I had lived the power of respect for many years. And I already told you my definition, completely in harmony with the one rule. Not only did I live it, using it with my children and the hundreds of children I worked with over about 22 years, but people I taught, even people who read my book, Parenting for the New Millennium, reported how satisfied they were with the results of using what they learned in my book. So the one rule provides concerned adults with a way to approve of the behavior of their kids without needing to punish them. They just come to mutual agreement and they agree to what feels good to them. Also, you can take the following what if approach. I learned this from a friend. What if you tried the one rule and it worked for you and helped you create harmony with your kids? What if that? During this 1 hour Zoom show, I focus on sharing tips and lessons on the one rule to raising happy kids. Also, each episode has at least one example of the one rule in action, demonstrating how it helps you raise a happy child. Then we have Q&A and discussion. That's when we have guests. When I talk about raising happy kids or creating harmony with kids, I often bring up the one rule, now called the one rule to raising happy kids. Here is the one rule to raise happy kids and to be happy yourself. Make sure that those involved agree with each decision. Knowing and following the one rule is all you really need to create harmony between you and your kids. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, use the one rule. Using the one rule means you find agreement. That's the rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. You find an idea, a solution that everyone likes. You found agreement. You found harmony. I learned this strategy from 3-year-old children. I was teaching them a complex conflict resolution strategy actually intended for adults, and they taught me this. So don't think you're in for a rough time. It's simple, it's easy, it's powerful and effective. It works if you use it. Learning how to resolve differences and the resulting conflicts in a humane and peaceful manner is what the one rule to raising happy kids is all about. Once you've made the one rule your habit, you can avoid getting into conflict in the first place. As long as there are no differences that might lead to conflict, there is no need to use the one rule. But one of my guests pointed out to me that it doesn't have to always be a conflict situation. It could be just like the example was making a decision like on where you want to go for your vacation or your holidays. And suddenly that made sense. But in a way, there are possible differences there that could lead to conflict. So it fits in really well to use the one rule. As soon as you realize that there are differences between what you want and what your kids want, that is the time to use the one rule. Find agreement before you move on, before you decide what to do or what not to do. You, the adult, are the example of the one rule in action. You make sure that you follow it and gently encourage your kids to use it also. The one rule shifts everyone's goals. The primary goal is now finding agreement, something that everyone likes and wants. No one has to settle for second best. Together, you find something that is satisfying and fulfilling to everyone involved. And it is only used when differences are leading to conflict. It is a path back to harmony, that's all. Or you could say it is a path to stay in harmony. So it's not just to lead back to harmony, but to remain in harmony. And that's what my guest was explaining about using it when there aren't conflicts, but there are possible differences, like the example of vacationer. Okay, why and how the one rule works. Apparently, our brain is hardwired to answer questions. When we are asked a question or when we ask ourselves a question, our brain immediately begins searching for an answer. The one rule is like asking our brain a question, so it immediately begins searching for an answer. The problem, trouble, or conflict, or situation, let's say, the situation is the source of the question. We ask two primary questions. How can we find agreement? And what is really important to me in this situation? It is simple. Until you are used to it, you might not think it's easy, though small children learn it and adopt it quickly. That has been my experience. This is how I raised my kids. Once I decided never to force them to do what they did not want to do. This was how I treated the kids I worked with. The following 3 agreements make using the one rule even easier, almost automatic. 1, we are each important. Demonstrate this by pointing to each person involved and saying, you are important and you are important. And if you are involved, point to yourself and say, and I am important. 2, we each deserve to feel good. 3, we are going to find a way for this to happen. When you use the one rule, you create a heart-to-heart bridge between you and your child. That way you both feel loved at all times. Imagine the blissful power of this. I want to tie this current understanding of the one rule back to its origin. The work I did for the many years I raised my children, was head teacher in our Montessori school, taught a special education class in East Los Angeles Middle School, and finally substituted in many schools in Las Vegas. To do this, I'm going to share a bit of what I wrote in my original book. I call it the book that started it all. That's because I did not have a mission until I'd written this book. I'd been invited to create educational centers in India. I decided that before I could do this, I had to share what I felt I'd learned from working with the children at Children's House. One mother had already asked me to do this, to share what gave me a unique approach to dealing with kids. It turned into the book and a mission to share this with as many people as possible, so kids everywhere can grow up in harmonious situations. So here's a little from that book, Parenting for the New Millennium, Creating Friendly Families Through the Power of Respect. Chapter 5, Respect, the Cooperative Solution. Respectful interaction takes many forms. It comes through our mouths as kind, thoughtful words. It comes from our hands as helpful, loving actions. It forms our thoughts into cooperative understanding. Cooperation is respect in action. Respect is enough. It helps create respectful relationships. It helps change an unhappy family into a friendly, happy one. It helps change low self-esteem into high self-esteem. I am going to have to stop this. I'm sorry. I didn't know that this would end show. Okay. I hope you have a stop screen share. I hope you have a wonderful week and that you use the one rule whenever you need to keep harmony, and that you manage to keep harmony and maybe don't even have to use the one rule. So glad you're sharing this with me and that I can share this with you. See you next week.